Do not start practicing speaking too early if you're studying a language. Nowadays, language learners are always encouraged to speak valiantly without fear of making mistakes. That's good because language is about communication after all. But if you want to master the language or even achieve native level fluency, here's why starting to speak early on in the process might be a bad idea. When you're studying a foreign language, you often have to memorize an enormous amount of grammar. Grammatical gender, pronouns, verb conjugations, tenses, all that stuff, right? Even after you memorize them, you might still make grammatical mistakes before they're fully internalized and become natural to you. If you start speaking the language and keep making those mistakes constantly without recognizing them, they will become bad habits that will be very hard to correct later on. You may end up speaking a grammatically corrupt dialect of your target language for the rest of your life. It's not just grammar, it's the same with pronunciation. If you don't get your pronunciation right early on in the process, before you start speaking a lot, the bad habits may stay. I know quite a lot of people who speak English as a second language and they have a quite decent command of the English language and they can express any complex idea in the English language, but they cannot clearly distinguish the word back from bike or the word bad from bed. It doesn't mean you should avoid speaking though, because you need to train the muscles in your mouth to be able to pronounce things, and you need to train your brain and make those neural connections to be able to make grammatical sentences. But there are a few things you need to be aware of before you start practicing speaking. If you want to practice speaking at the earlier stages of the language learning process, either for some feedback or some motivation, it's better that you can talk to someone who can correct your mistakes immediately. And normally that means a teacher, because most native speakers would be too polite to correct you or embarrass you on the spot. But it's hard to find a native speaker who would do that for you. And normally a one-on-one instructor could be quite pricey. So a tool I often use is Italki. If you're not familiar with Italki, it is a global language learning platform which you can study over 150 languages. That covers all the major languages in the world. And you can select a language and browse through the teachers offering classes of that language. You can also select native speakers only to make sure that what you learn is authentic. And you can see the prices for each class and teacher and select the teacher according to their teaching style and your preferred price range. The best part is you can purchase the credit for one class at a time. So that's perfect if you just want to improve your speaking skills or get some feedback through a casual conversation. Personally, I have used Italki for my Japanese, Portuguese, and Spanish, and Korean. Hi, Juno. Do you hear me?
How are you? Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Great. I'm actually having a hangover, so I'm not doing great.
Oh.
But let's see how this goes.
Well, at least you had a good Sunday night.
¿Cómo es que tú hablas todos estos idiomas?
Bueno, básicamente mi madre es japonesa y mi padre es canadiense, entonces por eso hablo japonés y inglés. Nací en Japón, en Kioto, entonces por esa parte crecí aprendiendo japonés y en casa con mi padre hablaba en inglés. Y también cuando era pequeña me fui a un international school por algunos años, así que hablaba inglés con todos mis profes. Por eso mi inglés, everyone says American, but I guess between American and Canadian there's not a big difference anyways. So that's why I speak Japanese and English. And then when I was 11, I moved to Ecuador with my family, and then that's where I learned Spanish. I was trying to get my brain started on Japanese. 大丈夫。
日本語初めて。どうして今日本で生活しているんですか？
私は毎年何ヶ月か日本に帰ってきます。
そうですね。
家族会いに来たり、友達会ったり、家族の仕事とかもたまに手伝いますので、それでいます。
So if you want to try it out, you can click on the link in the description below and enter the promo code Phoenix in capital letters. You will get $5 for free if you buy $10 worth of credit for your first Italki class. The discount is only available for the first 50 users though. So Another thing you should be doing to avoid fossilization is self-correction, especially at the later stages of the language learning process. When you already have most of the grammar tools in your toolbox, you need to constantly be aware that you might be making a mistake and correct yourself immediately if you make one. I know it sounds exhausting, but if you don't do it, those mistakes might be here to stay. The later you do this, the more difficult the mistakes are to rectify later on. You could also try shadowing, which helps a lot with pronunciation, and shadowing also helps with, internalizing the grammatical details, because when you're shadowing a native speaker, everything you say will be grammatically correct. And it's free, and you can do it anywhere. You can do it when you're commuting. You can do it when you're taking a walk or working out. And lastly, and probably the most important thing you need to do before you start practicing speaking is to build a solid foundation of grammar. If your grammar is always fuzzy, you're more likely to make mistakes, and you're more likely to be confused when people correct you, and you would lose the ability to self-correct. So your level in that language is more likely to fossilize. But again, language learning should be fun. If having to do all this stresses you out, or if all you care about is getting your idea across and having a few meaningful exchanges with the native speakers, it's fine to make a mistake from time to time and pronounce something wrong here and there. I hope you enjoy your language learning process, and see you next time. Ciao.